Jesus tæt på, hold det griner, og næst blå, hvis jeg bedst på. Just real time, du bra har jeg vel, i livet på, jeg vil slå. Just med blå i blod. Just tæt på mit par, lille bong, cirkens blå. En lille pjøs, jeg slår ned, så koldt i mammas blå. Just tæt på mit par, lille bong, cirkens blå. En lille pjøs, jeg slår ned, så koldt i mammas blå. Jesus tæt på, hold det griner, og næst blå, hvis jeg bedst på. Just real time, du bra har jeg vel, i livet på, jeg vil slå. Just med blå i blod. Just tæt på mit par, lille bong, cirkens blå. En lille pjøs, jeg slår ned, så koldt i mammas blå. Just tæt på mit par, lille bong, cirkens blå. En lille pjøs, jeg slår ned, så koldt i mammas blå. Jesus tæt på, hold det griner, og næst blå, hvis jeg bedst på. Just real time, du bra har jeg vel, i livet på, jeg vil slå. Just med blå i blod. Just tæt på mit par, lille bong, cirkens blå. En lille pjøs, jeg slår ned, så koldt i mammas blå. Just tæt på mit par, lille bong, cirkens blå. En lille pjøs, jeg slår ned, så koldt i mammas blå. Jesus tæt på, hold det griner, og næst blå, hvis jeg bedst på. Just real time, du bra har jeg vel, i livet på, jeg vil slå. Just med blå i blod. Just tæt på mit par, lille bong, cirkens blå. En lille pjøs, jeg slår ned, så koldt i mammas blå.
All right, we are live.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. You should be able to hear the game this time, because last time I went through the whole stream unaware that, it was muted.
It's a damn shame, because this soundtrack slaps.
Yeah, we even talked about the music last time, and nobody mentioned it. I think we should just hop right in, right?
Yeah!
I've changed the setup of my myself on stream just so that you don't have to see my whole body this time, I think.
What if I want to see your whole body, though? I say as though I'm not looking at only the application so I can read.
Winking aggressively at you. Alright. A serpentine twisting path led through a dim forest. It ran a bit uphill. I'd guess the path was made twisting so that the slope wouldn't be felt too much. But I'd have been happier if they'd been man enough to make some stairs in a straight line. Weird comment right out the gate, Battler. I'm glad we're back onto a start of him saying weird shit. No doubt they made the path twisting on purpose to put on the airs of distance and importance. Before long, we saw garden-style stone steps. Now I remember how it goes from here. Go up these, and... At the top of the stone steps, a beautiful guest house came into view. Its facade was lovely, of course, but even more than that, we couldn't help but have our hearts stolen away by the splendor of that beautiful rose garden spread before it. It's as beautiful as ever this year. A real delight for the eyes. As they reached the top of the stone steps, the people welcomed in by the rose garden voiced their appreciation one after another.
Oh. Aren't the flowers less... Fuck, I can't... Okay. Aren't the flowers less lovely this year? It must be because the summer wasn't warm enough. I also believe that is so. When one compares with last year's blooming, it is pity that this year's is somewhat inferior.
Even so, it was a delightful rose garden. I remember that huge amounts of roses used to greet me every year, even over 6 years ago. This rose garden was the first thing that greeted the people who came to Rockinjima. Even our parents who came every year couldn't help but let their wonder slip out. And moreover, it even looked like a powered-up version of the garden from 6 years ago that was in my memories.
This place is always so amazing. It would be so wonderful to have a rose garden like this in my own home. Give it up! Who do you think would take care of it? Roses are a real pain with the bugs and the diseases to worry about.
Yes, they are. In fact, I hear that Kiri-san attends to her rose every day and makes sure that it doesn't get nibbled at without her knowing it.
Huh? I haven't heard anything like that. What's this? Yes, I do. Though with him, it's the rose that goes after the insects, so it's really more like some nasty carnivorous plant. Oh, so that's what you mean. Come on, Rosa, can't you give that a rest for just today? I've put that sort of thing completely behind me.
I wonder. After all, you are a womanizer on almost a genetic level.
No need to worry, Rosa-san. If a rose gives me too much trouble, I'll just chop it off at the root.
Oh, such frightening talk this is. Guys who are popular with the ladies are always forced to live with danger at their side. I sure hope I turn out a bit prettier in my next life.
Hideyoshi Nissan, as I keep telling you, it isn't like that at all. And Kiri, stop it, you're freaking me out. You're making my rose wither. Sorry.
No, I love the threatening Rudolph constantly. It's what he deserves, actually.
Truly, actually. Hey, Maria-chan, look over here.
Sorry, I was taking a drink.
These roses are especially magnificent. Roses are magnificent. Ooh.
Smells pretty sweet. Look, this matches my elegance perfectly.
Hey, cut it out! Maria's gonna imitate you and get hurt by the thorns.
She yelled at me as I leaned in with an exaggerated gesture to smell the rose's scent. I thought she was overreacting, but when I turned around, I saw Maria imitating my every movement, and thereby putting a broad smile on George and Anaki's face.
Hey now, Maria-chan, be careful. Rose thorns can hurt. George Oni-chan, this one rose is strange.
Strange? What's wrong?
Maria pointed to a single rose. I immediately understood why she found it odd. In the midst of all these magnificent roses, just one single rose was withering. There wasn't any particular reason. Some roses flourish and others wither. That's all there was to it, but Maria seemed very concerned about there being one unhealthy rose in a group of healthy ones. She must be feeling somehow like it's been left out.
So, you feel sad for this rose because it's the only one that isn't healthy. The others are all healthy, but this one's sad.
Well, they all bloom and wither on their own. I'll bet the only reason that one withered now is because it bloomed earlier than any of the other roses.
Yeah, that's right. It probably just bloomed all over the place, fulfilled its duty, and went to rest. You shouldn't get so worked up about it. It seemed that Maria's pure, sensitive nature was making her feel some emotional pain for the rose that withered alone. Even though she understood the logic of it all, it still felt lonely to her.
Okay, Maria-chan. Why don't you look after this rose until we leave then?
George Anaki straightened up and felt around in his pocket. He then took out the wrapping from the candy he had eaten on the plane. He twisted it into a thin string and gently tied it to the rose as a sort of marker.
Hey, that's pretty cute.
Let's mark it with this. Later on, you can come and give it some water. I'm sure Mr. Rose will be happy. Come to give it water! I think you should give Mr. Rose here a name. I'm sure that'll make it happy, and you'll get to know it a little better. Name? Name. Though
she still wore her usual sullen face, Maria crossed her arms and began to consider this intently. At the very least, she appeared to have been completely pulled out of her slump. Nice going, Anaki.
George Nissan has always been really understanding. Can't help but respect him.
Yeah, I guess that's just his gift. We've got to learn some lessons from him.
I start reading before I actually read the whole sentence. I don't know, like, the rhythm. And I was like, oh, like, halfway through.
Understandable. Was this garden as fancy as this when you were a kid?
It was only after I left the house that it became this grand. Though I was more fond of the previous rustic garden. Nissan fiddled with it too much with his slightly questionable taste. It was much better that way than it was before.
Ava, you gotta think positive. No matter how it might have looked, its beauty now is something to be admired. You'll be able to relax a lot better if you look at it that way.
I didn't mean it like that. I was just saying that I would have liked you to have seen the old, more wonderful garden as well. Now then, everyone, if you please. I shall be guiding you to the rooms now.
Goda-san called to everyone to ask if we were ready. But our hearts had been completely stolen away by the rose garden after a year of absence, and we didn't lend him an ear. Since we weren't a travel group, it wasn't like we had a strict schedule to follow. Besides, for our parents, this was their fond old birth home they had returned to, so they felt no obligation to be pressured by anyone. Understanding the situation, Goda-san continued to wait with a wide smile for our parents to lose interest in the roses and tell him to guide us to the rooms. My, hey! If it isn't Ken-kun! It's been so long, how are you doing? Uncle Hideyoshi suddenly shouted. In the direction he was waving, there was a slender boy. Meeting him right after a huge man like Goda probably emphasized his small stature. The boy was in the middle of transporting piled-up gardening tools and the like in a wheelbarrow. When he realized he was being called to stop, he set down the wheelbarrow, took his hat off, and bowed his head. Good afternoon. I figured he was probably younger than me. I realized by the general atmosphere surrounding him that he was a servant too. Though he did greet Uncle Hideyoshi back, he himself seemed like he might be unsociable. It was a greeting that lacked feeling. When Goda-san noticed that our interest had shifted towards him, he went to the boy's side and introduced him to us. Battler-sama, I shall introduce... Oh, that's not me.
Battler-sama shall introduce you. He is one of the servants who served the hero... Remind me how that's pronounced again.
Ushiramiya.
Ushiramiya.
Ushiramiya. He is one of the servants who serve the Ushiramiya household. Head house. Head house is dumb. It should just be household, but I get it.
It's because of... I think we're playing the Witch Hunt translation, and I think that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fan translation.
Kanan-san, greet our guest.
I'm pleased to meet you. I am the servant, Canon. Yep, my first impression wasn't wrong. He gave the feeling that he was unsociable, or maybe a bit of a poor speaker. In contrast with Goda-san, who was extremely polished as a servant, it was impossible not to feel the immaturity you'd expect of someone of his age. When Goda-san urged him in a whisper to give a bit of more of an introduction, the boy named Canon only cast his eyes downward.
Canon-san, could you perhaps give them a little more as a greeting?
I can't, because we are furniture. It seemed that he wasn't refusing to greet us out of spite, but rather he gave the impression that he didn't know what else to add to his greeting, and so could do nothing other than stay silent.
Canon-kun's a man of few words. He might not be that sociable, but deep down he's really a good person. Don't get him wrong. You've been working here for 3 years, was it? So yeah, you've been here a year longer than Goda-san, right, Kanan-kun?
Even though it's not like he made a super bad impression, Jessica hurriedly backed him up. I see. Apparently him being unsociable works against him all the time. Cool, nice to meet you. I'm Battler. I'm 18, how old are you? A silence, as if evaluating whether it was a question that must be answered or not. But here again, Jessica plowed ahead.
If I remember correctly, he's 2 years younger than us, so 16, right?
Yes, that is correct. It looked like, if given a choice, he would have preferred not to tell us his age. Him not wanting to tell his age was probably because he thought he would be looked down upon for it. I remember that when I was his age, I hated being asked how old I was by adults. I see, 16, huh? That's gotta be a delicate time. In that case, I asked something I shouldn't have. I'm glad you're about our age. Just be cool and call me Battler, and I'll call you Canon. Thank you very much, but just the sentiment is sufficient, Battler-sama. Jessica looked flustered for some reason. She seemed to think that my impression of Canon was worsening because of his rejection. Well, I doubt a girl like Jessica understands his fretful male heart. As his elder, even by just 2 years, who would lead him into adolescence, I took it upon myself to understand that.
Kanan-san, could you perhaps be a little more courteous? A smiling face is also the duty of a servant.
I apologize. I shall make an effort. Oh, Goda-san, Kanan-kun is trying his best, isn't he? It seemed as though he was often warned about his discourtesy, and apparently he hadn't improved a bit. Goda-san kept his business smile, but let a small sigh of resignation escape. Well then, I still have work to do, if you'll excuse me. It looked like Canon himself was uncomfortable with the remaining silent here any longer. After another perfunctory bow, he turned on his heels and started pushing the wheelbarrow again. Just then, suddenly the wheelbarrow wobbled and fell, scattering the load. I guess the wheelbarrow with its single wheel caught on a pebble and lost its balance. What have... Oh, not me.
What have you done? Now, quickly clean it up!
Goda-san urged him along in a low voice, as if to remind him that it is a servant's shame to present a clumsy appearance in front of guests. Showing that he understood quite well without being told, Kennen-kun wordlessly reloaded the wheelbarrow with the fallen objects. He seemed to be fine with the light-looking gardening tools, shovels, and such, but he looked like he was having trouble getting his arms around and lifting up some sacks of fertilizer.
Are you alright? You're so careless. Here. Milady, you'll dirty your garments. Please, leave it to him.
With an elegant gesture, Goto-san took the shovel that Jessica had picked up. At his back was the figure of Kennen-kun having trouble with the sacks of fertilizer.
Oh, you'll dirty your garments?
Don't worry, the ones I'm wearing aren't that elegant. Besides, I hate guys who make the waitress pick up the fork they dropped at a restaurant. I lifted up the other bags that had fallen. Of course they weren't light, but for me it was a piece of cake, humble brag. Kennen-kun turned his surprised eyes towards me. It was the face of one who would have never expected to receive help from a guest. But, Battler-sama, that's not necessary. I'll take care of everything, so... Don't you worry! I may not look it, but I've got it where it counts. Kennen-kun looked like he hadn't yet gone through his growth spurt and was stuck with a sorta weak body. I guess this kind of weight is a bit too much for him.
It's quite heavy, isn't it? It's natural that it'll be difficult for you. Kennen-kun, don't worry about it.
Okay, my time to shine. This makes up for the boat part from before, right?
As if your antics earlier could be written off just like that. I'll tell you all about it later, Kennen-kun. Battler is a laugh and a half.
Gonna fall! Ooh!
Banter made the job seem quick, and before I knew it, all the stuff had been piled back into the wheelbarrow. For letting you see such unsightliness, I beg your forgiveness.
Very well, enough now, please go.
Letting such a disgraceful thing be seen by the guests who were supposed to be made welcome must have been hideously embarrassing as a servant. Pressed by Goto to hurry up and exit, Kennen-kun left.
You're too harsh on him, Goto-san. Wouldn't it have been better if you'd helped him instead of being a bully? You are quite correct. I deeply, deeply implore your forgiveness.
Without even a twitch in his smile, Goto-san apologized elegantly. Kennen-kun has tons of things he's good at, too. It's just that being young works against him all the time. It's a crying shame.
It's a prickly age. You be nice to him. Keeping a tight lip is just what you want in a servant. Right, Kumasawa-san?
Rudolph-sama, you truly are harsh. There is no servant as silent as I, of course. Everyone smiled wryly at that shameless lie. Even she herself didn't believe that, not in her wildest dreams. She said that to loosen us all up. Yeah, that's the kind of character Kumasawa Bachan used to be. The mood that had stiffened a little was cleared up in a twinkling thanks to Kumasawa-san's cheerful smile.
I'd like to put down the luggage soon. Goto-san, how are we to split up for our rooms?
It shall be the same as last year. I shall guide you. Please, this way.
We headed towards the trim and elegant guest house. This was going to be our temporary quarters for the night. Kennen watched over a hedge as the guests all entered the guest house. Then he let his eyes fall on those heavy sacks of fertilizer piled up in the wheelbarrow. In his mind, he kept going over his previous mistake. Battler, big and strong, had picked up the sacks in front of him, the sacks he couldn't lift himself, as if they were feathers. It was extremely difficult for an outside observer to guess what emotions that favor had stirred up in Kennen. But as far as you could tell by watching him hang his head from behind, there was something that he just couldn't let go. Muttered words escaped his lips. But those
So
words...
handsome.
Yeah, having gay thoughts.
Absolutely.
But those words he murmured were so soft that they didn't reach even his own ears. Even I... Kennen hung his head slightly, biting his lower lip.
Cannon Protection Squad.
I remember the rose garden, but I don't remember the guest house at all. Was it built, like, recently? Visitor's Retreat was written on a gatepost-like thing, but since everyone called it the guest house, I followed their lead. The brand new Western-style guest house that stood overlooking the rose garden had a magnificent design carefully done in harmony with the garden.
Correct. It was built just the year before last. Since then, we've been having them let us sleep over here.
Yeah, because some people... God damn it. Because people seem to like this place more than that junky old mansion we've had forever. I wish my room was over here.
Ooh, I want one too. Want one too.
I guess you could call my house upper class as well, but I was reminded again how completely ordinary it was compared to the head house. It showed a shocking display of wealth that they would build this kind of awesome guest house for guests who come over like once a year.
Eba-sama, Hideyoshi-sama, please do make use of this room. Rudolph-sama, Kire-sama, please make use of this room here. Ah yes, I do appreciate how pretty and elegant this place is. Western style truly is wonderful.
I can handle the Western style for a few days, but any longer than that, you need the good old Japanese style. Japanese people just relax best on tatami mats.
They've been fighting over making our new house Japanese style or Western style. Mother still holds a grudge about father having started the construction as Japanese style, and they bicker all the time about it.
Your parents get along so well, George Nisan. I'm jealous as hell. Mine are so frosty. And yet they're right with each other when it comes to my grades.
All the rooms seemed to be two-person. I was grateful because now I wasn't going to be forced to share the same room with the old bastard for some bullshit reason like being family. Besides, I figured those two wouldn't be able to enjoy themselves with someone like me around.
What's that creepy smile all about? You're thinking about something dirty, aren't you?
Thinking about your dad fucking again, Badly?
Everybody knows that Rudolph can't keep it in his pants.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Man thinks about the sex of his family too much. I like Battler otherwise, but this man's a little too concerned.
He is. That will not change, unfortunately.
It comes up less, but it doesn't change.
There's more pressing things going on later. Something dirty? Of course not. Please enjoy your stay. Ow! 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 That hurts, you old bastard! Once again, Dad pulled my ears from behind.
What the crap? I'm getting a stomachache, and I'm not in the mood for this. You're the guest of honor this time around. You would play as nice as possible with Dad and Anarchy and the rest. At the very least, pay attention to what you say in front of Dad, got it? Because wisecracks go over like a lead balloon with him. Jessica-chan, what's the mood of our family head been like lately?
Same as last year, I guess. Considering they keep saying he's got 3 months left, he's as lively, grumpy, and irritable as ever.
That wasn't me. That was the own text delay in the game. That was an interesting choice. I don't know why they made that choice. Like the way that
maybe
Grumpy,
just think it with
like,
the line
was.
delivery better, but like...
Oh, maybe. Because there is the lip movement on this.
Yeah.
Meaning he's in his usual bad mood again this year, and the only one who's able to take care of him is Genji-san? It seems that the master will only open his heart to Genji-san. Lately, us small people cannot even get an audience, which could mean nothing! Sorry,
They're boyfriends.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm a Genji, Kinzo truther.
As far as I'm concerned, it's basically canon.
Okay.
Toxic old man, Yowie.
He's shut himself up in his study again, probably doing nothing but that weird black magic of his. What he does for a hobby is his own damn business, but when he starts stinking up the place, it really gets on my nerves. He can just stay in that study and never come out again for all I care.
You shouldn't talk like that about the elderly. We're all indebted to him since he rebuilt the Ushiramiya family, and a little gratitude wouldn't hurt.
Well, sorry.
After being rebuked by George Aniki, Jessica had no choice but to take back her thoughtless remark. The Ashiramiya family was wealthy beyond belief, but that, of course, meant that all its members were eccentric people completely at odds with the rest of society. The head of the family, standing at its peak, in other words, our grandfather, seemed to be a particularly eccentric and terrifying person, even for our family. Dad had said he was getting a stomachache earlier, but I guess that was what all the adults who came here today were actually feeling. No doubt they were jealous of us, the grandchildren, just playing and laughing without a care. From the stories Dad told me, the head of the family was a violent man who rained blows on his sons with his own fists and even beat his daughters mercilessly with a wooden sword. If he was such a staunch traditionalist with his kids, why wasn't he the same with our names? Because of that, even us grandkids have to suffer. Well, I have absolutely no trouble believing that terrifying image they paint of him. I don't have many memories of meeting him over the years, but I remember his face was full of menacing thunderclouds, always making the people around him shrink away with a sharp look. I remember that the room's atmosphere got so tense whenever he was around you couldn't even breathe. What my dad said right now about me being the guest of honor now carries a little more oomph for me. 6 years ago I was in grade school, but I'm a high schooler now. There's no getting away from it. If I don't show him respect, things will probably get serious. Ooh, scary.
He does look frightening, but he's not completely terrifying. He's definitely never unfair. He's just not a pretty talker, that's all.
But George Nissan, you've been the family darling since like forever because of your awesome grades, right? Grandfather treats us completely different. He hates women. Like me, I've gotten slapped with a wooden sword. On my ass. My ass! Natively naked ass!
I love Jessica so fucking much. Well, you're the heiress of the head house, Jessica-chan. Grandfather is giving you special attention. You have to realize that his strictness shows how much he's expecting of you.
Oh, come on. Seriously, I could just turn the succession over to you, George Nissan. It's a bit of a heavy burden for me to carry.
I think I already said it before, but Jessica is the daughter who will inherit the head house. The pressure on her shoulders must be different from us cousins of the branch families.
Pardon me for burping right into the mic.
No one heard it, so you called yourself out about it.
Calling myself out on Twitch.tv. I'm a burper. Ooh, Jessica Onechan, heavy? If I hold it, will it get lighter?
Thanks. It's alright. It's not gonna get pushed on you, Maria-chan. I'm gonna bear that cross until my grave. Don't worry.
I love you, Jessica. While grateful for Maria's innocent consideration, it seemed that Jessica could not easily rid herself of the anxiety for the future that remained visible on her face. I guess I'm no different. Any high schooler with exams looming ahead is bound to have an anxiety for the future that they can't hide. Maria, come here. You'll be in this room with Mom.
Battler-kun, apparently you're with me in this room here.
Oh? This is a surprise. It's bigger than our parents' rooms. Wow.
I figured us cousins are probably all going to gather in one place anyway. So I went and told them to make it a biggish room.
Ooh, I like here best too. Here is better than being together with Mama.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna turn my mic sensitivity down. I'm gonna move to BRB, but we'll still be hearable. I'm moving when you're talking. Is that better?
I'm sorry.
It's not. No, you sound fine. Like, you sound good. It's not your fault. I think my sensitivity is just too low.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's better.
Yay!
Move back over. Okay. Also get fucked, Rosa. This is a spoiler-free stream, except for when Rosa's on the screen.
In which case, we get to roast her free of charge.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed an.
Okay, you like it here better too, Maria? Alright, this room is George's and mine, but we'll give you special permission to come in. Keep it a secret from your mom, alright?
Secret!
Her mother, Auntie Rosa, was right behind her, but Maria still answered, striking the air with her fists clenched tight. After our parents put the luggage in the rooms, they gather again in the corridor.
So, brats, what are you gonna do? Are you cousins just gonna stay here and chat?
It seemed that they were heading to the mansion to announce their arrival. Normally, we would have had to follow them and greet everyone else, but if that had been the case, Dad would have just said, "You guys come too," and been done with it. He's telling us that it's alright if we don't come, so what do? It's gonna be time for lunch soon anyway. Better let the kids unwind here. Besides, if worse comes to worse, this might be the last chance they get to play outdoors.
Ooh, I'll go too!
Maria, you house sit for Mama, okay? You behave yourself and wait here.
Ugh.
Now that Maria had been told to house sit, we couldn't just leave her behind. George Aniki realized that immediately and gave a clear reply for all of us.
Well, we'll accept your offer and house sit. We have lots of stories to tell each other after a year. That would be best. And Badaracana has 6 years of worth to tell after all.
Yeah. I'll take care of the house like a good little boy.
I did have a question. Is this a static visual novel?
I don't
Yeah.
know what that means.
That means there's no choices.
Yeah.
There is exactly one choice and we won't see it for a month and a half.
Okay.
Congratulations.
A month and a half is generous.
Yeah.
We won't see that until episode
Next year.
8.
Yeah, we won't see that till the end of the game.
Kumasawa-san, I'm gonna stay here too. We'll leave the rest to the adults and us kids will break rank.
That would be for the best. I'll report to Madam.
Then everyone, I will be guiding you to the mansion. Please, this way. The other kids aside, George is an adult now. Wouldn't it be better if he came with us?
If we make him come, poor George will be the only one left out. Interacting with his cousins is also important. Well then, see you guys. The adults left one after the other. Like the time he had guided us from the harbor, Goda-san went ahead with Kumasawa-san at the rear. As we gathered in the cousins' rooms assigned to us, George Aniki asked us to excuse him for a second. He rushed over to Kumasawa-san, who was following behind the disappearing adults and seemed to be asking her something. He soon finished his business and came back. What's up, Aniki?
Nothing. I just wanted to ask something. Ooh, ask me too.
Avance, thank you for the follow. You're just
Hey.
in time. Nothing super exciting has happened yet.
That's a lie. Ask me too. Everything's exciting when you're reading Umineko.
I see.
You just don't know it yet.
Hmm. What could it be that George Nissan asked Kumisama-san and doesn't ask me, I wonder? I don't have a clue.
No, you misunderstand. I'm not sure what you're misunderstanding, but
Oh, okay, let me fix her audio. Kina, you're
No.
too loud.
well, no one ever told me that before, except for people who've seen me in real life.
To be fair, you were at like 120.
I was holding my mic again. Maybe I can stay relaxed with it.
Well,
On my
I
desk.
turned you down in Discord to match Kara. Is that better? Does that sound better, Alphonse?
Test, test, test. I am sorry, I am screaming. I just get excited.
Also, while we wait on confirmation, Kina, I had in my little notes of who's voicing who, I had your full government name. I had Kina Reed written down. I don't even have my full name on there. I don't know why you got a last name and nobody else did. I guess I see you as a whole entity. I turned her down a little bit more. So I hope that it is better now.
Yes, please let us know.
Thank you for helping us fix that.
Of course. Feedback
Aniki,
is important.
it is. Especially because this is like maybe the third ever stream I've done with other people. The second one was the other Umineko stream. We all also love Umineko, except for, I guess I can't speak for Kara, who has not ever played it other than our streams. Do you love Umineko yet?
No.
Gun to head. Without love, it can't be seen.
That's just, I do like it so far. It's just nothing in particular has happened yet. So I can't really say if I love it or
We
not.
haven't even met everybody yet, to be
I
fair.
like the writing so far, like how people talk.
Yeah. You have a Umineko tattoo? That's super cool, Alphonse.
Oh, that is so cool.
You should get one, Kina. I'm surprised you don't have one. You have two? What's the other one? Aniki was getting pretty tongue-tied. It's like he has something to hide, and Jessica has the dirt on him. Whatever it is, something only Jessica knows and I don't, is no fun at all. Hey Maria, it's not fair that we're the only ones out of the loop, is it now? We want to hear what they're talking about, don't we?
Ooh, Battler and me want to know too. Battler and me want to know too. Ooh, 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 ooh.
I fooled around while oohing together with Maria.
No, I'm telling you, it's not a big deal.
Liar! You suck at lying, now confess! Maria, you tickle his right side, I'll tickle his left.
Ooh. Me on the right side, Battler on the left. Ooh. Wait a second. Wait, you two? Stop.
George Aniki rolled around on the bed in an effort to get away, and Maria and I played around chasing him. There's something in the back of my mind telling me I'm a high schooler now, and not a damn kitten, but in spite of that, I miss this kind of fun. A warm kind of fun.
What George Nissan was asking Kumasala-san, see? Well, you know how it is. It's been a year since he last came to the head house. Apparently he's been really dying to say hi to any servants that might have joined or quit in the meantime, see?
Ooh. Say hi. I'll say hi too.
What the hell? That's not anything to feel guilty about, Aniki. That's not it, is it? Maria, don't be fooled. Aniki is still hiding something. Resume interrogation.
Stop it, seriously. Maria-chan, you two, stop already.
They're probably busy with cleaning or lunch arrangements. It's alright, we'll go and greet them properly afterwards. Basically, you wanted Shannon out there to greet you, not that Goto is getting in the way, right?
Shannon? Shannon. Ah, I remember that girl. She's still a servant now? How is she? They're the same volume. I don't know how to fix this. I guess turning Kara down a little bit as well.
Well, I'm also probably just being louder. I'm so used to my microphone not picking up, I'm probably projecting
you fixed
too
it
much.
today and now you're too loud. Well, I turned her down a little bit as well, so we'll see how it sounds.
Yeah. Try to chill.
By the way, Natsuhine-san, Oh, I'm not in the game. How's your headache been lately? It seemed to be pretty serious for a time.
Is this one of mine?
Yes.
Okay, I have no idea. Who is this?
Jessica's mom.
Yeah.
Jessica's mom. Can you
Very-
describe her personality?
Think Yamato Nadeshiko, but kind of not good at it.
Who?
Okay, let me rephrase it. Iron-willed Japanese housewife stereotype, but she's also really stressed out all the time and doesn't do it the best.
And gets migraine headaches. Also, her husband sucks.
Okay. I have been much better lately. Thank you for your concern.
Oh, right, here. A present for you, Natsuhi-san.
Thank you once again. I'm always receiving gifts from you. Is this black tea?
It's herb tea with peppermint and lemon balm. It's a blend from a famous store, and it's supposed to be good for headaches. I thought it might help you too. Rosa was always a conscientious woman. Oh, I need a drink, hold on. I have 2 cups of water for this stream. Probably because she was the youngest of 4, and by quite some distance, she managed to grow up without harboring the venomosity of her siblings. Her consideration made Natsuhi soften her expression for just a moment. But it wasn't enough to undo many years of anxiety that had curdled her expression into one of bland indifference.
Oh yes, you always were saying you got those headaches. Pull yourself together. Jessica-chan will have her exams this year, won't she? Isn't that a turning point in her life? How can she count on her mother like that? Besides, Natsuhi-san, you're 3 years younger than me. Can't you pull yourself together? I apologize. I was born with this discomfort.
Ava sometimes fails to choose her words carefully, but even though she hit it with a smile, her comments aimed at Natsuhi contained shards of obvious malice. Of course, that didn't escape Natsuhi. She frantically contained her urge to grimace and pretended to ignore Ava.
Our Battlecon will have his exams too this year, right? Rudolph-san, shouldn't you be a little bit more concerned too? For the sake of your own son, get serious to the point of getting headaches like Natsuhi-san. If I say anything, he'll automatically go against it. So what should I say? Maybe the opposite, that it's okay for him to mess around? That'll probably be the only thing he'd listen to obediently. In your family, Hideyoshi-san, didn't George do really well on his exams? Please, teach me the secret to controlling children.
Well, it's probably because I convinced him why he should study. Studying isn't worth anything on its own. That's right, the real point of studying is to train yourself in the art of researching what you don't know. If you can't do that, you can't be useful to society. I'm not talking about math or writing. You need to learn how to learn.
That's splendid. It would be nice if our Jessica could understand that, though. I don't mean this too seriously, but as it is, as an heiress of the Ushirimiya family, she's... Do you really have to force her into becoming the successor? Women have to find their own happiness. Parents shouldn't be deciding that for their children, right?
Hold your horses, Ava. Each family has its way to raise children. You shouldn't be pushy.
I'm sorry, Natsuhi-san. Don't take it the wrong way.
Though the light shining in through the window was quite warm despite the cloudy weather, there was a dark mood about the room, which probably caused headaches for other people besides Natsuhi. As if to brush away that mood, Kiri brightly made a suggestion to all present.
Still, this black tea has a really lovely aroma. Let's drink it at once. I believe that in Japan, you can't buy something like Leopold's black tea anywhere but Ginza, right?
Kirini-san, how knowledgeable of you! It really was worth buying. Kiri and Rosa stood up from their seats and made as if to prepare the black tea. Natsuki forestalled them.
Thank you both. Let us save that for later. One of our people will soon be coming to bring some tea, so please relax.
Leave it for later, you two. Let them treat us to a welcome drink at least.
Rudolph gave a subtle signal with his eyes for them to sit down again. Kiri and Rosa understood instantly and obediently returned to their seats. The guests had already been greeted, so it was time for some tea to be prepared for them. That tea was late, and having the guests talk about making some themselves was an embarrassment for the hosts. Natsuki bit her lower lip, frustrated with the ineptitude of the servants who were taking too long to bring the tea. Seeing her face, Ava, without hesitation, started to giggle. Ava is the #1 hater. As she came in pushing a dish cart piled with teacups, Natsuki gave her a pained look for no apparent reason, and Shannon couldn't help but flinch without knowing what she had done wrong. This is one of yours, Kara.
Okay, describe her personality.
Timid servant woman?
Okay. Excuse me, I shall prepare some tea for you.
Oh, Shannon-chan, it's been a while. You keep getting prettier every time I see you.
Oh, thanks. Leave the chatting for after you set the table. The tea will get cold. I apologize, madame.
She apologized like a small, frightened animal, and bumping against the serving cart made a jarring racket as she dropped several teaspoons. Her clumsiness made Natsu's expression even harsher, which made Shannon in turn quail even more.
It's alright, Natsuki-san. What does a simple greeting matter? We've already been made to wait for so long, the tea must be quite cold anyway. It's alright. It's not cold yet, so... Shannon, finish setting the table quickly. I'm sorry, madame.
It was obvious that Natsuki was getting irritated. The ineptitude that delayed the tea, the clumsiness of the serpent, everything pointed to the incompetence of Natsuki's everyday guidance, making her lose face. As the person in charge of matters of the Ashirmiya head house, allowing that clumsiness to be exposed today of all days was surely nothing less than total humiliation.
Lay off, Natsuine-san. Don't you think it's a little harsh to bully Shannon-chan when she's trying her best?
I'm not bullying anyone.
What a nice smell. May I ask you the brand of this tea?
I'm terribly sorry. I'll find out for you later. I'll find out for you later.
Kiria tried to be nice to her, wanting to cut through the tense mood. However, instead, Shannon had shown a disgraceful display, darkening Natsuki's face and the room's mood. By this point, Ava's giggles were loud enough to be heard by everyone in the room.
What's this, Shannon-chan? Don't you even know what you're pouring us? Come now, you mustn't serve something so suspicious to guess. We'll need a silver spoon at the very least before we can drink this. I'm sorry. I'll go get one immediately. Shannon-chan, do you know what silver spoons are used for? Or why they have to be silver? Do you know why? No,
Ava's eyes played over Shannon, who was setting the table as a catty smile floated onto her face. Taken on its own, the expression on Ava's face may have been charming in an impish sort of way. However, the words being spun from her lips held within them the keenness of a razor. Shannon tried with all her might to avoid Ava's gaze, which continued to focus on her. Grasping that Shannon was hard-pressed for an answer, Rosa promptly gave some timely help. They say that silver dims if it touches poison. You've learned something, right, Shannon-chan? The tea was being treated as undrinkable unless it could be first tested for poison. In Natsuhi's eyes, this was an insult to both the tea and herself for serving it. Rudolph, laughing flippantly, patted Ava's shoulder.
You don't need any silver cutlery. With just one lick of your poisonous tongue, even a silver plate would go pitch black.
I get to hear that poison tongue every day, so I must be poison-proof by now. Ava, I don't mind you doing it to me, but you gotta tone it down a smidgen for the poor souls without resistance.
My, how cruel. I only gave Shannon-chan a bit of information about tea, didn't I?
Hater. Everyone in this family is a hater. Everyone followed the lead set by Hideyoshi's horse laugh and smiled, though sourly. There remained a single exception to this in Natsuhi, but even so, for the time being, that conversation inside the parlor could now be mistaken for a lively and friendly chat. As Shannon finally finished setting the tea table and made to leave, Kiri apologized to her in a low voice for not being able to help. Shannon gave a light bow and made a hasty retreat. Shannon cast her eyes downwards, pushing the cart down the corridor. The pitiful air around her made it obvious that she had borne the brunt of some bullying. Don't be sad. You didn't do anything wrong, Nissan.
You were watching?
That is my duty. Madam and Ava-sama can go to hell. But the even worse coward is that guy. Cannon glared hopefully in the opposite direction of the parlor. The preparations for the tea had been delayed by a little bit of trouble in the kitchen. That trouble had not been Shannon's fault. The truth is that it had been Goda's mistake. In the first place, there was no way that a show-off like Goda would ever hand over a flamboyant job like catering the tea to the guests. He had needed to make the tea all over again, which had made him late. So realizing that he wouldn't be earning any brownie points, he had pushed the task of setting the table on Shannon, who happened to be passing by. One could truthfully call it being shrewd, and one could questionably call it cowardice.
It's alright, Cannon-kun. Thank you. I really don't mind.
Cannon's silence vividly showed that Shannon's words weren't coming from her heart.
Thank you. Even if you're the only one who understands, I still feel a bit better, I think.
You bottle things up too much, Nissan. You shouldn't be less hard. You should be less hard on yourself for once.
Yeah, thanks.
Suddenly, they both felt someone's presence and whirled around. An elderly man stood there. It was Genji, the head servant.
What are you doing here? Shannon, hurry back to the kitchen.
Yes, if you'll excuse me.
Shannon humbly obeyed and promptly made to push the cart and leave. However, Cannon appealed to Genji in silence, bearing something in his eyes that he could not express in words.
What is it? Did something happen?
Shannon didn't do anything wrong. But those...
If you'll excuse me, I'll return to work immediately. Karen-kun, you too. Go back to your post.
If you say
Please.
so, Nissan.
If there's nothing, then go.
Yes, if you'll excuse me. From the shadows in the hallway, an old woman wearing an apron watched over them. It was Kumasawa. How heart-ending, Shannon-san, Kanen-san. There's no reason for those two to be picked on, but it cannot be denied that they are disliked by Goda-san. Before Goda-san was taken in by the Yoshimiya head house, I heard he worked for a fabulous hotel somewhere. I do think the manner of work he learned there was quite something. It's just that Goda-san is the newest servant here. He must have a lot of pride accumulated from his previous posts. Because Shannon-san and Kanen-kun are his seniors here at the mansion and yet are inexperienced and have gone through much less in life than he has, he picks on them at every chance he gets. And also, although it's terrible, they are hated by Madame Natsuhi too. Of course, in terms of experience, Madame has been in the family much longer. However, I must feel some sympathy for Madame as well in this case. The master is truly a cruel person. Why could he not realize that his trifling whim would pass such an inferiority complex onto Madame? Naturally, deep inside, even Madame fully acknowledged that there's no reason to treat those two so harshly. However, the heart has reasons that reason knows not. Ah, how heartrending. I cannot do anything but watch over them from the shadows. Broken window.
We're gonna have to replace that. It's about to rain.
Good joke.
Thank you, I'm funny.
The four of us cousins were shooting the breeze over all kinds of topics. After all, there are both girls and guys here, plus we've got people over a wide spread of ages, adult, high school, and elementary school. All each of us had to do was talk about ourselves, and it would be of great interest to the others three. I think I'm finally getting used to all this. I mean, Jessica and Maria are both grown more than I could ever imagine over the past 6 years, so to be honest, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, but talking like this, I guess that on the inside, nothing's really changed since back then.
Right back at you. Even after 6 years, you haven't changed a bit. Although your body's gotten gigantic, you're still a kid inside.
Ooh, I'm a kid too. I'm a kid too.
Well, you aren't gonna be a kid forever, are you, Maria? I mean, you're gonna grow from being a kid to a cute young lady, aren't you? And when that happens, that flat as a board chest will be on Jessica's level, you know? I do not support or endorse anything Battler says at any given time. When that happens, let me rub him, okay? Promise.
Not when it's talking to Maria. Let you rub it.
No, girl, no.
Oh. No, Maria-chan. You can't make that
George.
kind of promise. That's bad, bad, bad. Ooh, I promise, so let him rub it. I keep my promises. Always keep them. Ooh.
Maria, you're a really earnest, good girl. The guy you marry is gonna be really lucky.
Just don't try to smooth over the topic with the promise intact, Maria. That promise never happened. Never.
Ooh. Promise canceled?
I love the phrasing of promise canceled.
I realize now, it really didn't feel like a brother gathering cousins without Battler couldn't, did it?
Without him being a gross weirdo.
Yeah.
That's true. We weren't able to goof off like this. Still, we did have some pretty constructive conversations, don't you think? Stuff about preparing for our future, exam taking, or finding jobs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now that I'm here, that's just this stupid babbling.
But I'm having fun this year. Ooh, ooh. That's true. I agree, this year's the most fun.
Maria's sincere words probably spoke for everyone. When George Aniki stroked Maria's head, she giggled like a happy kitten.
Pardon me. Your meal is prepared.
A timid knocking sound and an equally timid young woman's voice came through the door. Jessica answered brightly.
Shannon, come in. You remember Battler, don't you?
Jessica stood up from the bed and opened the door. There stood a servant girl who was definitely about our age.
It's been quite some time since we last met, Battler-sama. It's nice to see you after 6 years. I'm Shannon.
Noting my presence and trembling a little, she bowed deeply. Before Battler harasses any more women, I'm gonna go to BRB, because I need to use the bathroom.
Okay.
I'll use this as an opportunity to hydrate.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll go get more water.
I'll mute all of us, so no worries.
Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même sport. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même sport. Just was chef, Jesus tempo, hold the cleaner, and nice blow, it's a best power. Just real temp to pro hot javel, et leave the palms you will slow. It's the cloudy blue. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même sport. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même sport. Chef, Jesus tempo, hold the cleaner, and nice blow, it's your best power. Just real temp to pro hot javel, et leave the palms you will slow. It's the cloudy blue. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même sport. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même sport. Chef, Jesus tempo, hold the cleaner, and nice blow, it's your best power. Just real temp to pro hot javel, et leave the palms you will slow. It's the cloudy blue. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même sport. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans compter, il y a même score. Chef, Jesus tempo, hold the cleaner, and nice blow, it's your best power. Just real temp to pro hot javel, et leave the palms you will slow. It's the cloudy blue. Just tip, reach, party, lily, pong, and circle strong. Il est close, just slow you. Sans Jesus tältpå, halvdygplina, nästblå, bäst par. Just real temp du bra hade väl, lille pans vi vill slå. Just med blå mitt blod. Just typ har vi ett par lille barn är cirkas blå. En lille plus, jag slår ner. Så kontlig, il gör mammas blå. Just typ har vi ett par lille barn är cirkas blå. En lille plus, jag slår ner. Så kontlig, il gör mammas moskov. Just var chef, Jesus tältpå, halvdygplina, nästblå, bäst par. Just real temp du bra hade väl, lille pans vi vill slå. Just med blå mitt blod.
Please laugh. Okay, everything should be unmuted now, and we should be good.
Ooh.
Okay. Wow! Just got me surprised, but Shan-chan, you've shocked me just as much. You've turned into a total beauty too, haven't you?
Yeah, your words are too good for me.
Seriously, the food on this island must be really nutritional, no? What are you eating? Where are you training to get boobs that big? Guys, I'll have to feel them a bit and see whether yours or Jessica's are bigger, okay? With both hands poised and saliva dribbling down my mouth, I closed in. For the
George
sake of...
beat his ass!
For the sake of my honor and justice, I'd like to point out that I don't suffer from some strange disease that makes my lymph nodes itch until I scratch my neck open, and which can only be prevented by rubbing breasts. It's just my battler-style way of communicating. When a boy closes in on a girl like this, 9 times out of 10 they get slapped or clobbered, right? This is a Battler-sama original communication technique aiming for a gag like that to break the ice. Well, yeah, do you want to take a moment to laugh at Battler being a freak?
I love that. My strategy for breaking the ice with new women is to sexually harass them so they beat the shit out of me, so that we're on an even playing field. That's my secret technique.
It works.
Well,
You shouldn't do it, but it works.
Well, that means I really do get to touch him on that 1 in 10 chance, though, right? I'd never asked for that much, though. By now, my hands were less than a centimeter away from Shannon-chan's chest, but the counterstrike had yet to come. She understood what was going on, and she was blushing and had her head lowered in embarrassment, but she was just standing there with both hands politely joined in front of her, not even trying to resist or cover her breasts. Well, I wasn't planning on this! But please hit me right now. At this rate, I'm gonna seriously touch them! Which is why I was glad that Jessica chose that time to drive her elbow into the back of my head. Well, ow! Jessica! Thank you!
Why the hell are you thanking me?
No, my bad, Shannon-chan. Looks like I got a little too absorbed in your hypnotic chest. No, more to the point, when someone gets that close, they've clearly got criminal intentions. Seriously, you've gotta resist.
But you're an exalted guest, Battler-sama.
Now look here, a crime's a crime, whether I'm a guest or not. 10 centimeters around a girl's chest is like an air defense identification range. If someone trespasses within 2 centimeters, that's already an invasion of airspace, and you launch a slap to the face on high alert.
I can do such a thing. That is furniture, and...
Of course she didn't want her breasts touched, but if a guest so desired, she intended to sacrifice her own needs in an effort to accommodate them. A girl like this needs some urgent protection. In these days, to think there's a dedicated and virtuous girl like this, it makes my head spin. But no! No, no, no! I come at you with a perverted face. You smack me down. No, pervert! You gotta complete the joke or it doesn't work. Please, it's a polite request. Smack me. Like this, smack! Smack!
I cannot comply with polite requests because I'm furniture, but I will comply with it if it's an order. Because that is my duty.
Then I'll make it an order. From now on, if Battler-kun tries to touch your breast, you are to counterattack with a slap. Alright?
Yes, as you command. That is what I will do from now on. Battler-sama, I hope you can keep this in mind.
So Shannon-chan declared while bowing elegantly to me. Her facial expression was radiant. I gave her a thumbs up to signal, "You got it." 6 years ago, you might have been mistaken for a servant's daughter who just came in to lend a hand sometimes. But now you're a full-fledged adult servant. How many years has it been?
Well, I've had the pleasure of serving this household for about 10 years.
She's... The kanji for her name are read as Shannon. This is another far from typical name for a Japanese person. Being a kid back in those days, I had taken in her name without paying much attention. But for her to be called something like that is pretty unusual given that she isn't even a member of the Yoshimiya family. Maybe it's like a servant's professional name or something. If so, I can kind of understand why that Cannon-kun's name sounds the way it does too. She's a long-term servant who's served here since she was 6. Since her body's changed radically, she didn't match my memories, but we used to know each other 6 years ago. It looked like she was just as shy as she had been in the past, but I got the sense that she had become imbued with the charm befitting of a girl her age. Especially her breasts. Her breasts.
Her breast.
He said it, not me!
That kid we met earlier, Cannon-kun, is her little brother.
He's not exactly my little brother. Still, he loves me like a big sister. He didn't cause you any trouble, did he? He's the same as always. It's such a shame that he doesn't act just a bit more sociable. It seems Cannon-kun has caused trouble. I apologize.
He didn't cause any trouble at all. As a fellow man, I understand how moody you can get at that age. It's no surprise that he's unsociable.
I get called that all the time too. Get called unsociable. Like Cannon. Ooh.
Maria-sama, you're not unsociable at all.
Ooh. It was nice to be like him. Ooh. You said the meal was ready, right?
Yes, my apologies. My apologies. The preparations for your meal has been carried out, so I shall be guiding you all to the mansion.
Shannon bowed again formally and returned to her duty mode. We realized that if we made her stick around for any more light conversation, we would actually make it harder for her to do her job, so we got up off our butts to avoid interfering with her work any further.
Shall we go to the mansion then? You're all probably starting to get hungry as well, right?
Sure am. I always look forward to meals with Goto-san's here cooking. That guy seems he was a chef at this famous hotel, so he's super good at it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that! Let's go, Maria! We're gonna stuff ourselves like pigs!
Ooh, stuff ourselves like pigs! No. You can't just take everything Battler-kun says seriously, okay? It's because it's all jokes. Come on, let's go.
Under Shannon-chan's guidance, we headed towards the mansion. Bent once again by the magnificent rose garden, we continued onward as it came into view, the imposing mansion of the Yoshimiya main family. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you could feel the dignity of almost half a century hanging about it. On the surface, the building was gorgeous, but being as old as it was seeming lacking in modern amenities like air conditioning. According to Jessica, midwinter was especially tough, what with all the drafts. Well, it's not like they couldn't just take the kotatsu out. As we entered the entrance hall, an aged servant greeted us. Now him I remembered. As the most senior member of the staff, Genji-san served as the head of the servants.
Battler-sama, we have not met in a long while.
As our eyes met, he saluted us with a composed voice. He didn't give quite as refined a bow as Goda's, but it was a bow that had feeling, even if it wasn't polished to the same degree. Genji-san, it's been absolute ages. You look well.
Thank you. I have been quite well. And you, Battler-sama, I see you have become a splendid young man yourself. I would even say you've grown to somewhat resemble the master during his youth.
I'm looking like grandfather? I guess that means grandfather was pretty popular when he was young.
From here on, I shall take Shannon's place and accompany you. Please, come this way.
Shannon-chan bowed deeply and saw us off. Leaving the entrance hall, we headed to the dining hall under Genji-san's guidance. Genji-san, just like Kumasawa-san, stood in stark contrast to us young people who had grown beyond recognition over the last 6 years. His figure was exactly the same as in my memories of 6 years ago. It seemed like time had stopped since the last we met. Genji-san was a silent and diligent person. He was like grandfather's close aide or caregiver. In fact, you could even go so far as to say he was grandfather's right-hand man, which could mean nothing.
Old man Yowie, old man Yowie. Old man Yowie! Sorry.
Actually, it seems that he was by grandfather's side more than my late grandmother was. According to Jessica, grandfather trusts him more than any of his blood relatives, but I wonder how long he served. I've never asked for details, but I think he heard he's been here since the beginning when the mansion was constructed. That is to say, he's dedicated half of his life to serving here. No wonder grandfather trusts him. As we cut through the open ceilinged hall behind Genji-san, I found something I had no memory of from 6 years ago. Let's fucking go! There it is! Point. It was an awfully big portrait hung right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. Without thinking, I stopped walking under its spell. Since I'd suddenly stopped, Maria, who was following behind me, ran into my back. Sorry. Hey, Jessica, did that picture used to be there? I pointed at the large and conspicuous portrait that hung in the hall. Everyone else stopped too.
Right. When you last came here, that hadn't been hung yet, had it? When was it again?
I think, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was around the year before last. You are correct. In April of the year before last, the master had this painting put on display, which he had instructed an artist to paint from him sometime prior.
Grandfather did that? So he went out of his way to have it drawn. The portrait depicted a woman in an elegant dress who gave off a sense of refinement and who seemed to suit the Western style of this mansion. I couldn't have guessed her age, but the sharpness and obvious strength of will in her eyes gave me the impression of youth. It was a different feeling than the composed mood of middle-aged women that are often in famous pictures. If this woman had normal black hair, I might have thought it was a portrait of my long-deceased grandmother in her prime. Thank you for the follow! However, the woman in the portrait had beautiful golden hair and didn't look Japanese at all. So, who is she then, this woman? As though trying to show off her knowledge, Maria answered that simple question with authority.
I know. Beatrice.
What?
Beatrice. She's the witch. Didn't you ever hear about her long ago?
The witch? You mean of this island? I think I already said this, but Rokkenjima is a small island that's only about 10 kilometers around. However, considering that only the Ashirmiya family lives here, that's quite large. So only a harbor and the site around the mansion were set up to be lived in. Beyond that, the island remained as untouched as it was when it was still uninhabited. To understand just how dangerous a vast and empty forest with no lamplight, phones, or people passing through it all actually is, you need to shift your urban assumptions a little. You see, if by any chance you fall down in a hole in the depths of the forest and sprain your ankle, cry or scream, no one would come save you. If it then got dark, and the forest where there are no street lights would become enshrouded in complete darkness. Also, since there obviously aren't any guideposts here, it's easy to get lost and lose your sense of direction in the dark forest. Nowadays, most people see a forest as a peaceful place, but to the people of bygone eras, before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were like oceans on land, geographically separating one culture from another. Welcome to chat. We are in chapter 1 of Umineko, hoping to get further. I don't think we can finish tonight. I don't think so.
Unless he went for a really long time, but
yeah, I don't think that's happening. Just as fishermen who go out into the knowledge occasionally have their lives put in danger despite their technical knowledge was also demanded of hunters who went out into the forests, and their lives were occasionally put in danger just the same. If a child were to go play in that dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Some parent must have had that thought. Maybe my grandmother, or possibly the man himself, my grandfather, might have said it. Or maybe it was a story that handed down on this island from long, long ago. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. Thus, Rakanjima's ghost story was born. That is, the legend of the witch of Rakanjima. So when we say witch on this island, we're referring to the master of the vast and savage forest. Which reminds me, when I was little and stayed at this mansion, during the eerie nights where the wind and rain struck the windows, stories like the witch of the forest is roaming around in search of a sacrifice would scare the heck out of me. Beatrice, huh? As I searched my memory, prompted by Aniki, I did vaguely remember being told that was her name when I was very small. Right, still, I completely forgot that the witch of that legend had an elegant name like Beatrice. God damn. Don't tell me grandfather went out of his way to have her depicted in this painting just because his grandchildren refused to believe him.
It's the same witch from Grandfather's Delusions. Ever since he had this picture hung up, he's been losing the distinction between fantasy and reality. To us, it's no more than the witch from his imagination, but to Grandfather, she's a being who exists on this island. Exists. That's why he says he had the picture painted, so that we'd understand.
Milady. To the master, this is an important portrait. I must request strongly that you say not such a thing in front of him.
I know that. You can get me to say it even if you want it, even if you begged me.
Jessica turned away after glaring a second at the portrait.
Let's go. We're making everyone wait in the dining hall. Hungry.
Only a small portion of this island is controlled by the Ashiramiya family. If all of the wild remainder was this witch Beatrice's domain, then one could say that she was the being who actually ruled over Rakanjima. That unsettling, ominous feeling I had left on the boat trip when I learned that the shrine had been struck by lightning revived within me a bit. At the time, Kumasawa-san had tried to tell an ominous story about Rakanjima and had been stopped by Jessica. I didn't know what she had tried to tell us about this island, but there was one thing I did know. Rakanjima's ruler was not the Urshimiya family. It was the witch Beatrice. Yes, because this was the witch's island.
Battler! Ooh, slow!
When I looked around, everyone was already heading towards the dining hall. I hurriedly chased after them. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining hall. Genji-san knocked.
I have brought the children. If you will excuse me.
The door was open and we were invited inside. The dining hall, which screamed filthy rich, featured a super long table which was obviously designed with no other purpose than to make the guests conscious of their rank. and our parents were already seated in accordance with that ordering.
You're late, brats. Hurry up and take your seats.
The old bastard pressed us to sit. Only the places where we would sit were empty at the long table, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the very head of the table, which you might call the seat of honor, was for the most highly ranked and reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He was probably planning to come in last to make himself look important. The seating order, as you faced the seat of honor, went from left to right in rows of 2, with the ranking being lower the further you were from it. So on the left-hand side of the row closest to the seat of honor was the second-ranked seat, belonging to the eldest of the adult siblings, Uncle Kraus. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, either, so that seat was empty. And then opposite him, on the right-hand side of the first row, sat the eldest daughter of the family, Auntie Ava, ranked at number 3. The left-hand side of the second row was for number 4. There sat the old bastard Rudolph as the third of the siblings. Opposite him sat number 5, the youngest sibling, Auntie Rosa. Going like this, you might think the next ones would be their husband and wives, but guess again, because the left-hand seat in the following third row, meaning rank number 6, was actually Jessica's seat. Opposite her was George Aniki. Then the seat next to Jessica was me, and opposite me was Maria. And next to me on the left-hand side of the fifth row, all the way down at number 10, finally came Aunt Natsuhi. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. And next to Aunt Natsuhi in the sixth and final row on the left-hand side was Kiri-san. The seat opposite to Kiri-san had been laid out like the others but was empty. According to their ranking system, that spot was the seat where Auntie Rosa's husband should be sitting. He hasn't come as far as I know, yet the table had been laid for his seat. These kind of ranking orders usually permit the spouses a corresponding status, but the Yoshimiya family had an original kind of ranking. Maybe it's a leftover of male chauvinism, under the notion that a mother's womb is only a temporary house for the child and she contributes no genes. The children of direct descent would have the highest ranking, followed by the grandkids, meaning that the spouses with no blood ties would be considered the last in line. It's terrible, but according to that ranking order, grandmother, if she was still alive, would be in a position even lower than mine. In youth, obey your father, after marriage your husband, after aging your children. A leftover of the times when they used to say, woman, no home in 3 worlds. I don't know, what does that mean? Kina, can you explain that better to me?
Basically what he just said, saying about how when you're young, you're expected to obey your father, then your husband, and then your children. The idea of women having no place in 3 worlds is like they're not really truly the masters of their home or work if they have it, or in public spaces.
In every relationship, they're subservient.
I see. I understood what he was saying, but I didn't understand the way he phrased that last bit.
Also, it's chauvinism.
Oh. I've only ever heard it said the other way. I mean, I accept that I was wrong, but... Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring all this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat with the adult siblings sitting in their group and us cousins in ours. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Aunt Natsuhi, married to the eldest son of the family, responsible for managing the household, and number 2 for all practical intents and purposes, sat to my right, which meant that she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It was difficult to guess what was going through her head. That's why I made a small apologetic gesture before sitting down.
Oh, nice to see you, Battlerkin. You've grown quite tall, haven't you?
Yeah. Normal life, food, meals, eating. Then suddenly I was this tall.
Boys do grow fast, don't they? How tall are you?
I guess about 180 centimeters? No, wait. Mr.
How tall
Moment.
is that?
How tall is that? I don't know. Hold on. Derail.
You keep talking.
Okay. I guess
you
about
keep talking.
180 centimeters? No, wait. You missed your moment. You're supposed to jump in with, did you do anything besides eat?
I'm the same height as Battler. It's 5'9".
That's very funny. I hate that I'm shorter than him.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry.
After a moment, she gave a small laugh, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsuhi. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she is my dad's older brother's wife. Is it easier to get if I call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say it like this, but not that I hated her, but I didn't particularly like her. She never got into our kids' circle, and my only impression of her was as somebody who always talked about complicated stuff with my parents while having a crabby expression on her face. The fact is that having barely ever exchanged words, I hesitated a lot, not even just now, about how to approach her. And it was pretty much a flop. The silverware had been tidily set up on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in. As a rule, the meal doesn't start until the man at the head of the table has taken his seat. So as long as grandfather, the highest rank, didn't come, lunch would be indefinitely on hold. Not even the appetizers would come. In other words, the silence in the dining hall was the sound of our parents as they withstood their hunger and waited on tenterhooks for grandfather to come. Except the grandfather I remembered always showed up at the right time when we ate together like this. He wouldn't ever have been so late as to have everyone else waiting on him. Grandfather's pretty late. As far as I can remember, he was always strict about staying on time.
Well, maybe 6 years ago, yeah. But not lately. Seriously, he's off in his own little world now. He doesn't even show up at family meals. I figured he'd at least stick around for today's meal, though. That said, if he doesn't turn up, I'll be a hell of a lot more relaxed and happier to boot. Jessica.
After being scolded by her mother, Jessica faced the other way, sticking her tongue out. No way around it. Nothing to do but wait for the host to arrive. When I glanced at the clock, I saw that it was almost 20 minutes past 12. The aged master of the Ashirmiya head house, Ashirmiya Kinzo. He was there in his study. The clock showed noon, but he didn't even attempt to get up. With reading glasses on his face, he stacked up old-fashioned books with elaborate design bindings, one on top of another beside him, immersing himself in their reading. It definitely didn't look like it was for his leisure. On the contrary, he exuded impatience, crisis, as though every minute, every second were precious. The sealed room was dense with dancing dust particles, and the air stagnated with a mix of smells of various elixirs, each giving off its own suspicious stench. They were somehow sweet and heavy. For anyone with a good nose, the first thing they'd do after entering would be to open a window and ventilate the room. The knocking against the study door had been going for a while. A voice calling "Father" sometimes mingled with the knocks. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book that he had in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then he yelled at Kraus, who was continuing to knock on the door.
Okay. Gotta get my Kinzo voice back. Silence! Will you not stop that noise, fool? Who taught you that doors shall be opened unto you if you knock? Okay. Who taught you that doors shall be opened unto you if you knock? They crucified that imbecile. Do you wish the same upon yourself?
Father, today is the day of the family conference. It comes just once a year. Everyone is gathered downstairs. Please come out.
Kraus called out to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself up in the study and hated letting even his family into the room. For that reason, Kraus had no choice but to call out thus from the corridor.
Molest me not. Everyone? Who is everyone? You refer to the fools trying to drag me out of here. Then kill them all. Chop them up, make them into firewood, feed them to the witch's hearth. Put a pot in that hearth and boil wormwood. And if still there remain imbeciles foolish enough to dare to try to lure me out of here, force them to drink that broth of the apocalypse. Preserve the remainder in liquor. Genji, where are you? Call for Genji. Have my demonic absinthe prepared. The whispering of the green fairy reaches me no longer. Where is Genji? Call for Genji!
Before the door, Kraus, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house who would not come out.
Looks like he hates me to his core. My voice doesn't reach him anymore.
Cross shrugged as though saying it's no use and smiled bitterly. He himself hadn't believed for a moment that his father would answer his calls. However, as it was the duty of the eldest son, he had formally made the request. Kinzo-san, your sons, daughters, and grandchildren have come to see you, you know. How about you show your face just a little?
Be silent! You dare admonish me, Nanjo! I do not call for you, I said to call for Genji. Now hurry, call for him this instant. Time is short. The apostles are already readying their trumpets. Why do you not understand this, you foolish sheep?
Kinzo slammed the old heavy book on the table over and over. The racket obviously indicated his highest displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sing to a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled.
Why? Why is there always something in my way? I would throw it all away. I would offer up everything. And there is only one thing I ask in repayment. Oh, Beatrice, if I could see your smile but one more time, I would plunder the smiles of the earth and offer them all up to you.
I will say, Kinzo might be the most down bad fictional character in existence.
1000% would co-opt this opinion.
I don't know if I can think of anyone worse.
Genji is a side piece. Genji is the rebound.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, commanders of the Locust Legions, reap the smiles of the earth. All is filthy, all is irksome. Why must I suffer this impediment on this most precious of days? Call for Genji!
I have no idea what he's yelling. I guess he's finally gone nuts.
Kraus-san, isn't that a bit harsh to your birth father?
My dad is already dead. All that's here is a phantom of what he once was. At any rate, as long as he lacks the will to leave that room, there's nothing.
Kinzo-san. Choking coughs continued to pour from the study.
I'm going back downstairs. It would be a waste to let that lunch goddess so proud of get any colder. It's one of the few things the others have had to look forward to here.
Kraus spun on his heels. He looked at his wristwatch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain.
Genji-san, father is calling for you. Keep him company. Certainly. Dr. Nanjo, let's go eat. If we stay here any longer, even our face will be insane from the sweet smell.
Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo looked first to Kraus's back as he disappeared down the stairs, and then to the study door, and he let out a deep sigh. Sorry, Genji-san, please.
Yes, please leave it to me.
If possible, don't give him alcohol. It's too powerful a habit.
Is Genji not here yet? Who dares keep Genji from coming? Oh, where is Genji? Call for Genji!
Now, please leave it to me.
Me when I'm in an Overwatch match and I need my Genji to help me take down the enemy Widowmaker.
Sorry. Nanjo gave a small duck of his head and descended the stairs. Genji saw him off and knocked at the study door.
My lord, it is Genji.
Genji! Why must you make me wait so long? There is no one there, I trust.
Yes, I am alone.
Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo believed that his family might try to break into his study. Perhaps someone once opened the window for some air and scattered some important documents or something, and that had made him extremely upset. Now Kinzo had placed a secure lock in his room, making it so that without his permission nobody could enter, and locking himself in the dungeon he himself created. Genji, who he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that was not absolute. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even he wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, not even seeing his face. And most of the time, they wouldn't even get a real conversation. However, that didn't pose any particular problem for the family. That was because they had no reason to go out of their way to interfere with the retirement of the cantankerous and aged head. The fact that he was completely immersed in his odd research and always locked up in his hideaways was something of a benefit. They made the most of his refusal to leave the study, entrusting him to the hands of the servants while they themselves kept their distance.
Genji, my usual. I'm busy.
Yes. Oh. Sorry, I stole your line.
It's cool, it's cool.
Genji headed to the corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering that they were placed in this shady-looking room, you could almost suspect that they might be ghastly poisons. The inside of the study was filled with mountainous library of outlandish books that Kinzo had amassed. They were bizarre old books, some banned, and each and every one of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. Of course, if one were to actually call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say something like this. Call them grimoires. There were candles which had melted into a suspicious-looking fashion and taking on peculiar forms, and all manners of other strange objects probably having something to do with black magic. The constellations covering the celestial globe would have caused anyone who knew the night sky well to raise an eyebrow. The illustrations inscribed in old books haphazardly left open range from the religious to mystical, to the demonic and grotesque, as well as bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. And above all, the sweet poisonous smell filled the room, which to those entering the first time would surely be a profound assault on their sense of sight, smell, and all their other senses, making them lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji, with his well-trained hand, prepared Kinzo's usual drink. If you didn't know that the ghastly dark liquid that filled the complexly designed bottle was liquor, you certainly wouldn't want to put it in your mouth. He poured a small quantity of the spirit into the glass, placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon, and then poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the colorless water was poured into it, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It created the strange visual illusion that the water had caused a chemical reaction, which made it all the more difficult to perceive the concoction as liquor. To this, he added an original flavoring that Kinzo liked and fine-tuned the taste. There was no recipe. Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swings when he drank it, and he had learned how to make it only after many decades. Genji placed the glass on a tray and made his way over to Kinzo. Kinzo was now gazing at the window.
As you asked, my lord.
Thank you.
Kinzo had regained his composure, so much so that he was now unrecognizable as the man who had been shouting, screaming, and yelling just moments before. And that a man's back dwelt a dignity and intelligence made plain simply by how he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window. Genji, in order to allow Kinzo to set down his glass at any time, motionlessly waited behind him and to his left, as though he was a living sideboard. As he did, Kinzo stuck out just the glass, his gaze still directed at the world outside the window. There was just a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it upon the tray as Genji expected, but was a motion to hand the glass over to Genji.
Drink it, my friend.
That is more than I deserve.
No need for ceremony between us. Drink it, friend.
Thank you.
Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste its contents. Then he downed it in one gulp. I
Old
imagine
man
you would
Yowie
have to. I
breakfast.
imagine that is not a drink that you can slowly savor and enjoy.
Not if you're normal, no.
1 second, I have to answer a text real quick.
No worries.
Anyway, old man Yowie indirect
Old man
kiss
Yowie.
time.
And yeah, indirect kiss. I didn't even think about that. You're right. Genji Kenzo real.
So real.
Okay.
Are they lovers? No, they've got something worse going on.
Something much worse.
I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how I try, I cannot replicate the taste. The way you make it is pure relish.
Thank you very much. It is the fruit of your guidance, my lord.
Kenzo smiled at his loyal subject who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. It was relaxed, like a smile at a close friend's unriddable bad habit.
We have grown old, you and I. I forgot my age a long time ago.
That is the all-timers.
That I was permitted to live the life I have until today has all been thanks to you, my lord.
Kenzo gave a thin smile, as if to say he didn't need compliments.
You have served me exceedingly well these years. My sons call me eccentric. The servants that were once many, all of them retired in their growing fear of me. Only you, even now, serve me.
That is more than I deserve.
I doubt that I have much time to live. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. That fool Kraus squanders money like water, throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1. With that, he deludes himself into saying he earned money. Ava is a slave to money, thinking me as a hen or whatnot. As if when I die, she'll even use my carcass to make broth. That dunce Rudolph just wants to fool around with women. Rosa bore the baby of a nobody. Jessica is incompetent and illiterate. George has none of what it takes to be a man. Battler is a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushimiya family, and Maria is obscene to the eye. Why? Why is the Ushimiya blood so incompetent? Is there anyone worthy to inherit the glory I built?
The call is coming from inside the house.
Of course I know that this is Beatrice's curse. I know it. Golden Witch, is this supposed to be your revenge against me? I love voicing Kenzo.
Oh, we knew you would.
Yeah.
We knew you'd have so much fun.
Beat me if you wish. I like it because he's screaming every fucking line. Run
He's
away if you
insane.
wish. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. Won't let you go. Won't let you go. You're mine. You cannot be anywhere but in my arms. You are my entire life. You'll continue to whisper for all eternity in my birdcage to me. Only to me. Beatrice. Why? Won't you give me back your smile? Oh! Beatrice! Oh!
After howling, Kenzo choked once again. Genji set the tray and the glass down and patted his master's back. Genji's facial expressions did not change. It was always like this.
Thank you, my friend.
After his almost deranged outburst of the past few minutes settled down, Kenzo regained his composure once more. The way his attitude changed was like seeing 2 different people, a wild Kenzo and a composed Kenzo living together inside of one body.
And so, I have decided. I cannot stand spending the insipid remainder of my life procrastinating like this. If I have any final coins left to gamble, then I choose to abandon them all to the whims of the demon's roulette. The power of magic is always determined by the risk staked upon it. like visiting a shrine at the hour of the ox in ancient Japanese sorcery to nail a curse stone to a tree. The magic power dwells in incurring the risk that it will be seen before 7 days pass. The more dangerous the risk, the stronger the magic power will be. All the various miracles that appear in myth can be called crystals of astonishing magic power, obtained through miraculously low probabilities and astronomical risks. That Moses parted the Red Sea was no miracle of God's. It was that utterly desperate risk weighed upon the scales of oppression, of being quartered by soldiers on the Red Sea shores, which gave birth to miraculous magic power. Even if the same thing occurs again on the same scope, the sea will no doubt not part. That is because Moses managed to spectacularly draw out the single miracle carved in the roulette of those in power, which has more pockets than Asogi and Yota multiplied together.
What is that in the other translation, Kina? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head. I could try to find out though.
It's no worries. It's just there's stuff like that in this translation that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Now, the power to triumph over astronomical odds. Yes, magical power is, in other words, having the luck to grasp miracles. To obtain great magical power, one must bear a risk that is hopelessly great. Those who possess no magic would call this not a bet, but pure desperation. However, those who truly do possess magical power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the enigma come into being. And if that power exists within me, I will seize that miracle. I will be able to make the wish I devoted my life towards coming true.
Kenzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies.
And if I were to have what it takes to obtain that miracle, oh, Beatrice, show me your lovely smile once more. No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish. I just want to see your smile, that is all. I'll return everything you granted me. I'll return all the glory I've gained since that day. I don't need fortune, prestige, gold. I'll return everything you granted me. I just want to see your smile. I beg of you, Beatrice. Oh.
His nonsensical yells segued into a scream and then into a wail. Kenzo crumpled onto the floor and clawed at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lament. Anyway, swiftly moving on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm gonna drink water.
the head of the family is not in his best shape. He considers it a great shame that he will not be able to partake in lunch with you all, having assembled especially for this long-awaited yearly meeting. Goda, let the lunch begin.
Certainly. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we shall begin today's luncheon. Dr. Nanjo, is father's condition that bad? Surely he could have at least showed his face.
Rather than his physical condition, it's his mood, and for that there is no medicine I can prescribe.
Oh, come on, for God's sakes. Mood again? We came here to hear how he's doing. Making time in our schedules in this busy damn season of autumn. That's just... Then you got what you wanted, Rudolph. You managed to hear how he's doing. Or do you want to take my place and try to persuade our ill-humored father to come join us? Are you kidding?
Rudolph shrugged.
Rudolph.
Apparently, even though Rudolph seemed to resent the way his father did whatever he pleased, he'd rather avoid seeing his face if he could help it. Does it seem like his mood will improve before dinner, Kraus-Nissan?
Crap, sorry. I have no idea. You can try to ask Father directly. Although I think his move will improve faster if we don't bother him.
The only one who could bring grandfather's temper under control is Genshi-san. Pretty damn pathetic when you have to have a servant to deal with your own parents' bad mood.
Jessica, don't speak out of turn.
She'd planned for her complaint to be heard only by her cousins, but it had reached even Krause's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away, sulking. His condition can't be that bad, can it, with that kind of temper? I mean, if they were saying he's not feeling well, that'd be one thing, but if it's his mood that's bad, at least it's proof he's got some fight in him.
Well, Grandfather does have especially strong willpower, but it doesn't mean that his body will always follow that. Since last year, they keep saying that he has 3 months left. If the initial diagnosis was correct, Grandfather has been prolonging his life by willpower alone. We have to be concerned for him.
Lunch started with the family's head seat still empty. The man who should have been sitting there was already old, and the brilliant glory which had rebuilt the Yoshimiya family in a single lifetime was slowly being forgotten. Nobody seemed to feel uncomfortable when the meal began with that seat still empty. Who keeps breaking all these goddamn windows?
It's
You
the
did
witch.
Beatrice throws a baseball through your window. The Yoshimiya family conference was held once every year. It took place on the first weekend of October. Could not speak for a moment. If a normally blah blah blah, what is happening to me? I might have to end soon because I can't talk anymore. If a normal family were to use a pretentious name like Family Conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other surrounded by buckets of sushi. However, in the Yoshimiya family, where the sons and siblings are lent great fortunes, and only those that achieve success in business are considered adults, it literally was a conference. How much of the fortune was invested? What kind of business was conducted? How much was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Or alternatively, how much could be I'm dying. I'm already dead and I'm dying more. Or alternatively, how much would be borrowed for future business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seems that topics like these had been discussed very seriously in the past.
If you want, Addie, maybe I could take a shift of doing the narration.
If you're down to.
Okay, cool. You can stop me anytime. You just want to give you a mouth break.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm gonna drink more water.
Cool. Apparently, it used to be a very serious family meeting, where one would commonly be showered with harsh and angry voices, and even get slapped in the face despite being well past the age for it. However, that was all of a thing of a past. By now, everyone had achieved success in their own independent business ventures, and it was on the road to becoming a normal yearly get-together. Even so, being asked by Grandfather about the current state of play was an extremely stress-inducing event. And while us grandchildren, it was nothing more than a simple... To our parents, it was still a real stomachache. The absence of the man responsible for all of this, whatever the reason behind it, must have surely made today's lunch even more delicious. The phrase, "when the cat is away, the mice will play," comes to mind. Well then, let me introduce Jessica's father, whose face I haven't seen for 6 years. The man sitting to my dad's left is his older brother and the father of Jessica, Uncle Kraus. This name is sure as easy to read. Kraus. After so many weird names, it warps your sense of what's normal, and you start to think, hey, what's wrong with Kraus? Sounds pretty cool, actually. Just like with Aunt Natsuhi, I don't have many memories of speaking with Uncle Kraus. He'd never been one to talk to children, and I felt like he was always talking with the adults, just like Aunt Natsuhi. From the way my dad talked about him, it seems that he used to be a pretty spiteful and unreasonable person. If what Dad said is true, he used to be very domineering as the elder, and was hated by Aunt Ava, Auntie Rosa, and the rest of the family. Odd, considering they're all having fun chatting together. Well, I guess even if their relationship was bad when they were children, sometimes when people grow up and go their separate ways, their relationship changes. That's probably what this is. After all, they all have children about the same age. Since they share similar family environments, they probably all profit by exchanging opinions. Maybe because of that, the parents' circle has been deep in conversation for a while now about the exams Jessica and I are going to be taking. Jessica, in order to escape the discussion of exams with the bastard sitting on her left, was purposely facing to the right, firing off topic after topic so not as to give him an opening. Moving on, let's look at the opposite from Uncle Kraus and the others. In the very last seat of the table, an old gentleman with a sturdy physique sat facing Kiri-san. This was my first time meeting him. I had only just been introduced to him, but it seems he's grandfather's personal doctor, a man called Nanjo. Apparently, he used to own a huge clinic on the nearby Nijima Island, but he turned it over to his son, and then began living a life of leisure. He's known grandfather since the very beginning when the mansion was constructed on this island, and they have a history going back several decades.
I'll take back over just because your mic seems to be cutting out a little bit.
Oh.
It's not your fault, just like every couple sentences, like a word will like disappear for some reason.
Damn. I tried. I'm sorry.
No, you gave me a good break. I appreciate it nonetheless.
I got you, fam.
I thought he might be grandfather's companion in his suspicious hobbies, but surprisingly, it seems that he's grandfather's chess partner. I see. That kind of hobby does seem like very like our grandfather with his love of Western style. You could probably also call him the only person able to enter Rockinjima who is neither a family member nor a servant. From listening in on his conversations with the womenfolk seated near him, he gave the impression of a calm old gentleman. Considering he's managed to put up with our short-tempered grandfather for so long, I'm sure his big heart is nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he is a doctor, having someone from outside the Yoshimiya family attending the family conference is a little odd. From that fact, I imagine that grandfather's condition has grown much worse, and it may even be one of the major topics of discussion at the family conference. George Aniki was just saying it too. For the past year, grandfather has been continually pronounced as having very little time left to live. It's awful to talk about, but grandfather is an extremely rich man. At the time of his death, his wealth will suddenly be released, along with our parents' stomach acid, surely leading to some serious ulcers. With this kind of thing, the greater the number of ways it must be split, the more trouble will be caused splitting it. This kind of talk would probably also be included in the family conference. Oh well, it's not like it has anything to do with us children. Finally, even though he's absent, let me introduce our grandfather. The person who should be sitting in the seat of honor is Ashirmiya Kinzo. It really sucks. He gave everyone else in the family these weird names, but he himself uses one which is conservative as all hell. If only his name were written with those same characters for gold and vault, but he lets us call him Goldsmith or something. That'd be awesome. As you probably gather from all the talk about him, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. Because I'm just his grandkid and haven't met him since I was in elementary school 6 years ago, I don't remember ever having been beaten by him, but it seems that our parents were raised with an iron fist. The earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Kraus about who should go and try to convince grandfather to come out seems oddly funny if you take this into account. In order to tell grandfather's story, you have to take yourself all the way back to before the Showa era to recount the tale of the Yoshimiya family. Until the Meiji and Taisho eras, the Yoshimiya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills and were very wealthy people who merely had to fall about laughing while the money rolled in. Incidentally, grandfather, as a member of a branch family, originally had nothing to do with the main family. Distantly separated from the head's inheritance, he apparently had very little involvement with the head house. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923, the mansion owned by the Ashiramiya family in Otawara was flattened. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire, and the Ashiramiya family lost most of its wealth and family members in an instant. It then became a matter of who would become the heir to the main family, and as it turned out, none were left except for Kinzo, who was as far removed from the main family line as they come. Kinzo himself later said that it was such good luck, and it was as though fate itself had been turned upside down. With that, Grandfather's ordinary life did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the wealth that the dying Yoshimiya family had almost completely lost. Of course, just because you suddenly dump a task on someone doesn't mean they can do squat to accomplish it. I doubt the people around him were expecting much. But this is where Grandfather began to display his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of the family funds and everything from the hair on his head to his toenails as collateral to borrow massive amounts of money, create a gigantic supply of funds, and immediately started a business. It was like tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping onto a neighboring bike and then another one, just like some crazy street performance. Probably anyone would have thought that Grandfather had no business ability. But with an unbelievable amount of good luck and miracles, with coincidences piling up every chance taking advantage of, before anyone knew it, he had forged powerful connections with the Allied forces. At that time, MacArthur and the GHQ were in charge of Japan. Grandfather, in a twinkle of the eye, began succeeding in business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. At this point, it was no longer luck, but information that won the day. He must have made some seriously thick connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew about the emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War before they happened. No, more than that, he must have foreseen these special procurements and started penetrating those markets from the very beginning. History textbooks say that all of Japan made a large profit off the emergency demands for the Korean War, but that wasn't the case in reality. A very limited number of the super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, Grandfather was an extremely lucky member of this group of winners. This all happened during the year 1950, I think. And since the year of the Great Kanto earthquake was 1923, that means Grandfather was able to revive the near-dead Yoshimiya family to a level even higher than it had been before in the span of only 20 to 30 years. With that, you'd think he would revive the main family in Odawara, but for some reason, he went and did something as crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something that you can ordinarily do today. However, Grandfather was clever. He contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as a business property and then reneged on it and claimed it as his own plot of land. After the war, there were no prevention measures against food shortages, and furthermore, he had the sponsorship of the GHQ, which meant that nobody could oppose him. It seems that Tokyo provided the land for next to no money at the time. Tokyo later made repeated complaints for the land to be returned, but not much could be done due to the involvement of the GHQ, even though they'd been pushed into it. No doubt he bribed everyone there was to bribe. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather, with considerable skill and blessed with good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune in his own island. Of course, it wasn't all luck. He was skilled with English, and this was cultivated by his Western obsession. It was by using that as a weapon that he was able to make inroads into the GHQ. A mansion was immediately built on the island. That would be
Do you want me
this
to take
mansion.
over?
If you'd like.
You drink a little bit of water. Grandfather, who had always loved the West, made this once uninhabited island Rakanjima a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. The Western mansion that he had always imagined, overflowing with emotion, the beautiful garden where various roses had been planted, and a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint.
Rakanjima is incredibly beautiful for what it is. I personally would love to live in a place with a huge uninhabitable forest that I could go fuck off in forever.
That's all they wanted it back.
Yeah.
To have this much would be every man's dream. After that, making good use of his huge fortune, he became a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry. Oh, I just wanted to say one thing. Fucking the audacity of this man to mock his children so much when he literally only succeeded because he had mega magic infinite luck is hilarious. How dare my kids not be able to do anything? Not like me, someone who borrowed so much money everyone around me thought I was a fucking idiot. And then got lucky and then made all the money back.
I really like the of all time meme because you never say good or bad, because I do feel that Kinzo is the character of all time.
Grandfather of all time.
Yeah, grandfather of all time.
The extremely stable iron and steel industry, and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person normally gets portrayed after the fact as having the ability to foresee and predict the future or something. But Grandfather denies all of that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that with all his dreams made real can't help but grow increasingly odd when locked up alone on an island. Everyone knows he's been obsessed with the West for a very long time. But none of our parents really know when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Perhaps his love of black magic began way back when he became fascinated with the West. Or possibly, his miraculous stretch of good luck which allowed him to revive the family caused him to feel a mysterious power in himself. At some point, Grandfather began to make the research of black magic his life's work, filling his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre.
I will say, Kinzo is living the dream in the sense of having so much money that you can just decide to do whatever the fuck you want, like
Decide to be a wizard?
Yeah, decide to be a wizard.
Oh,
I want to be able to decide to be a wizard.
Nobody's fucking stopping you.
Yeah, this is true. Well,
Um,
I don't know if you can be a wizard if you're a ghost. I think there might be rules against that.
Isn't that just what I mean, that's kind of just a lich.
Liches
Yeah.
have physical bodies, don't they?
They do, but they could also just move physical bodies.
So what you're saying is I should steal somebody's body and
Okay, you
become
wanna
a
know-
lich.
You want to know
Like
when
that,
a
I
lich?
offer myself as tribute.
You want to know when a lich is a ghost?
When?
After you kill them and they fly back to their phylactery. In that moment, they are both a wizard and a ghost.
You're right.
Ghost
So-
wizard.
Alright, so
Yes.
I have a new goal, which is becoming a lich.
These being the few remaining years of a person successful in life, those around him warmly watched over him, feeling that the time was his to spend as he pleased, or so I hear. But no way in hell that's true. They probably were just driven away, thinking that's disturbing, I don't want to get involved. Well, that war-torn period was a time for big gambles, with both opportunities and risks. I'd like to see Grandfather do so well if he'd been born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities and would probably have advanced like a chess piece from a mandatory education to college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average company employee. If that had happened, he'd probably be sitting here with the rest of us, regaling us with tales of his shitty boss. No, not here, in the dining hall of a mansion we might have been around at a table at some bar. If that were the case, I'm sure this would have been a more comfortable family conference.
I like Battler writing fan fiction about his family at the dinner table.
That's a habit.
God, I wish we
will
were
be
more.
Right back. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No worries.
Should I keep reading because she's already
Yeah.
played this multiple times?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, that's enough talk about the old geezer who won't pop off. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch.
I was
Okay,
already
now
sold
wait.
by the sashimi salad. Go to
We
Oh, should we wait?
should wait now. Yeah,
Alright.
because one of her characters is gonna come up.
Yeah, that's true. What are you thinking so far? How do you feel about the Kinzo lore dump?
Just what an asshole. He thinks he's so good.
He does.
And this man literally was born at the ideal offense. Because even barring the fact that I know this motherfucker made a deal with the devil to get those coincidences to go in his favor, right? Even if he hadn't, what Battler said is right. Motherfucker is born at the perfect opportunity to take a big risk, and if you get lucky, come out a billionaire.
Yeah.
It's like being born in the 1800s in America. Like, if there's no better time to just, like, go rags to riches, you know?
Yeah.
And then he just expects his kids to do it too. What a dumbass. Motherfucker, it's the 90s. Wait, or is it the 90s?
It's the 80s.
It's the 80s? Okay, you know what? I take it back. These kids are fucking idiots. I'm joking. But, because honestly, in Japanese history, about the second best time you could ever have an opportunity to make it big is the 80s.
85 or 86, I think. Hold on.
As long as it's still in the bubble economy. They dress and kind of act like it's the bubble economy, so it's probably that. When did the bubble burst in Japan? Let me check that. Japanese bubble economy.
1986.
Literally the year it's crashed. Wait, no, it started in 86.
Oh, wait, you're right.
80s from 86 to 91. Literally. To be fair, when they were talking earlier, Battler said all their businesses were doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The only one he even said particularly that they're bad at business is it's like Krauser? Kraus. Krauser is the guy from Resident Evil 4, and also the thing is two characters for me. It's the guy from Resident Evil 4, but it's also more accurate to how this guy is the rich asshole from Fatal Fury.
Yeah.
He's got Umineko vibes a little bit. He's a guy from a Japanese fighting game where he's like got long purple hair and wears gold armor and is a rich evil man.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm 100% convinced you're correct.
I'm talking about Krauser from fucking Fatal Fury.
Oh, I know. I don't know anything about him. I just believe you. You sound completely on point.
Okay.
Alright. I was already sold by the sashimi salad. Goda-san is one hell of a chef. Plus, these fish were caught in the oceans near here, weren't they? The sashimi you get at the supermarket don't even come close.
Hey, quit it, Battler. Your upbringing will be exposed.
Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pubs.
My job occasionally leads me to eat at some quite interesting places, but even compared to those, this is an excellent dish.
Oh, hold on. One thing I wanted to say is, because I was going to say it during that earlier, because fucking Ginso's such a fucking asshole. Dude, he had shit to say about every person. One, called Jessica illiterate, whatever the fuck that means. She can probably obviously fucking read. I guess he probably just means she doesn't like read often, like for enjoyment or approval.
I think is the implication.
Sure, but straight up going from bad grades to calling her fucking illiterate.
Yeah.
But more than that, George, perfect child George, he didn't even have any real shit to say, so he just said, "You're not a real man, you're too much of a pussy."
Yeah.
Beta
You don't like to beat your family members, you're too much of a pussy to inherit the family.
Fuck Ava's pussy ass son.
He literally has the perfect air if he wanted. And he's just like, "No, you're too nice."
I will say,
unlike me, alpha male Kenzo.
Alpha male Kenzo. You think Kenzo would be a fan of Andrew Tate?
No, he's not cultured enough.
To be having.
No, he'd be a fan of whatever the rich person's form of Andrew Tate is, like whatever a billionaire like believes like an alpha male is, you know, because Andrew Tate's too not classy enough, you know.
That's fair.
But there's just a toxic of man that rich asshole men enjoy, whoever that is. But the other thing is that fucking this is only strengthening my George transition would have saved her. Like, trans man George is growing in my brain.
Bro, oh god, like, sorry.
That's one of
Kraus
many
would like
Umineko
Elon Musk,
trans... Oh, he would love Elon Musk. You're so right. I was gonna say, that is one Umineko trans headcanon I don't think I've ever heard before, but I don't disagree.
It's just his demeanor. It's his kindly demeanor, and also being the specific his grandfather being like, "You're not a real man." because he's too nice and not a toxic asshole.
I will say with as little spoilers as possible for you, Kara. This does come up later, this thing I'm about to talk about, but I really love, like, his comments on Ava being that she's money hungry, as if that's not something you should be looking for in business.
I
don't
guess
know.
it's just for his money in particular, but
Yeah.
also, he's the motherfucker hounding everyone about money. It just, like, I feel, you kind of raise her that way.
Yeah, that's more my point.
Alright, go on. Let's go move on.
Alright, Kina?
Oh, sorry, I forgot. It was in the middle of my line. I imagine you could have become reasonably well known in that field, Goda-san.
I don't know too much about it, but at the famous hotel where he used to work, employee politics got pretty complicated and everyone split into factions. In the middle of that, he was apparently forced to retire. And it just so happened that Mom had job offers out for a servant at the same time.
As Goda cleared away the empty plates, he began to recount his own eventful past, never losing his smile.
The world is a difficult place. However, it is thanks to this that I was given a chance to display my skills as a chef once again, this time for the Shiramiya family.
I will say, I don't think he's that old to be forced to retire. He's not like Genji's age. He's like, what, 40s probably? I'm sure there's an official age somewhere.
Maybe they meant more like forced to resign.
I think probably, yeah. I have to remember this is the Witch Hunt translation.
Is this the one that's on Steam? The translation that's on Steam, or is this a
No.
different
Yes
one?
and no. The
Yes
one
and
on
no.
Steam is a cleaned up version of the Witch Hunt translation, and this is like the Umineko project translation, which is a revised version of the Witch Hunt translation. Insight provided by the manga at the. It's weird.
I will
It's
say,
all-
Ryukishi liked the Witch Hunt translation so much, he what is the word for it?
References?
He makes references to them later in Umineko, because Umineko was like an ongoing thing when it was originally coming out.
Yeah, like the fan translation was coming out in real time. Like it took
Chapters
a
were
while
being
because
released
obviously the shit was
separately.
really long. But like 6 to 8 months after they released Dojinshi, this official Steam port didn't come out until like, God, 8 years ago. And this game came out.
Umineko, fucking the original Deltarune.
Honestly,
Yeah.
well, that's just
How many years? How many years do you take to finish it from releasing the first chapter to finishing it?
Not as long as you think. An episode came out every summer and winter comic hit. So it would have only been about 4 years from when we first started, I think. Let me double check that. I'll Google it. If a line of mine comes up, please just tell me.
Line of
Okay.
yours. No, this is Kara. Sorry.
Although I also enjoy the smiles of a larger number of people, it is
August of
also extremely
2007
entertaining to be
through-
able to. Oh, go on.
Sorry, it was August of 2007 through November of 2010.
So 3
And
years.
then... Yeah. Side Stories came out in 2011. And then the Saku port came out in 2019. I'm trying to see when the Steam port actually happened, but I can't right now. I'm gonna show
You might be able to look on the Steam page for it later.
Yeah.
Although I also enjoy the smiles of a larger number of people, it is also extremely entertaining to be able to perform delicate work in order to please solely the limited number of people I have pledged to serve. All of this is thanks to the opportunity given to me by Madame.
Goda-san respectfully bowed his head towards Aunt Nazi.
That is because among all of the applicants, you were the most talented. The decision was not made based on personal feelings, but purely objective, so there's no need to thank me.
Oh man, why does Aunt Nazi always have to speak so frankly? If only she spoke more gently, she might give off a different impression. Shenen-chan and Kumasawa-san entered the hallway with a surfing cart.
Please excuse us. Now then, let us move on to today's dessert.
Goto-san and the others laid out the beautifully adorned desserts. I guess it's true when they say you have another stomach for desserts. I thought that being fed all that delicious food had totally filled me up, but as soon as I laid my eyes on the dessert, my stomach started yelling more. I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce, and elegant rose petals adorned the dish. When you dine on such magnificent food as this, first it is distributed in front of everybody, and then the chef takes a moment to extol the virtues of his creation. Until he has finished, as a rule, you don't touch the food. However, Maria, who had no experience with these ceremonious rules, got excited by this beautiful and delicious-looking dessert and jumped into the fray as soon as it was placed before her. Auntie Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, "No, it's alright."
Ooh, this one's sour. This one's sour. Peddler, the wrong one is this one. Ooh.
Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces. What? There's a right one and a wrong one? Alright, I'll give it a go. Apparently the 2 sauces were one sweet and one sour.
They're just eating crab ragoon.
Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger in and licked it. Whoa, one of them was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us. Shannon-chan, what kind of sauce is this sour stuff? Shannon-chan hesitated to speak. Maybe she was just setting the table and doesn't really know. She's hesitating a bit much for that, though. Did I ask something wrong? Or did they use something that we'd be better off not knowing about? While Aunt Natsuki acted as though she had a headache, Kumasawa-san, who was sitting the other side of the table, began to laugh with a ho-ho-ho. What do you think we made it out of? It'll shock you. Huh? I don't have a clue. And Kumasawa-san, that laugh creeps me the hell out. So what is it? Don't tell anyone, alright? Let me borrow your ears. Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. She'd asked to borrow my ears, so I leaned forward too. Their interest caught Jessica, George, Aniki, and of course Maria also put their ears closer.
Ooh, what? Tell me.
The sour part is, well, actually it's squeezed juice from a mackerel. What, mackerel? Don't be ridiculous, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding with an uh-huh.
Mackerels are sour. If you squeeze them, this comes out.
When Maria started clamoring that mackerel... Clamoring? When Maria started clamoring that mackerel were sour, the adults were unable to contain their laughter. You've got it wrong. That's vinegared mackerel, Auntie Rosa said to Maria in a small voice while turning red. Now I remember it perfectly. Kumasawa-san was always this kind of character, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me about all kinds of things when I was young as well. Amongst all of them, the most painful must have been that one, the flimsy black stuff you get in Chinese food. Kikuragi mushrooms. She told me it was penguin meat, and I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Kumasawa-chan, you still haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe now, right? It's just a joke. Goto-san will tell you what the sauce is in just a moment. Goto-san looked a little put out from having his masterpiece laughed at in such a strange way, but after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us.
Well then, allow me to describe tonight's dessert. Based on the rose garden that everyone seemed to enjoy so much today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. The rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that rose garden. For the sauces, I prepared 2 different reds for you, strawberry and rosehip. Please enjoy the strawberry sweetness and the rosehip sourness in return. Finally, the rose petals are mere decoration, so please set them aside before eating. With that said, please enjoy.
I really want some sour candy now. Man, I almost want to applaud before I even eat it. It's like when you take medicine, you know how it seems to work better when you've read the instructions? Thanks to Goda-san elaborating on the details of the dessert, I feel like he's knocked it up another notch. Seriously, should you call him meticulous or just talented? The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but he took a cue from our stopping in front of the rose garden earlier today, and displayed an incredibly timely awareness of the season by just adding a few rose petals from the garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you'd just get used to it and become bored halfway through, but by bringing in the sour sauce at that point, you get a really vivid taste. And then, once you return to the sweet sauce, all of the sourness in your mouth is replaced with an enjoyable sweetness again. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goda-san passed by one of the seats, someone praised the taste in his creation.
How is it, madame? Splendid, as always. It is worthy treat for our guests. I am most grateful for your words. Madam, did you know? I have heard that rosehip has the ability to cure headaches. I thought that you especially would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared.
Kiss ass.
You kind of have to be a kiss ass at this one because she's kind of a fucking bitch.
No! I love
Listen,
Natsuki so much.
Listen, I know I get it, but she's like...
No, she is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that so? Thank you.
See, didn't I tell you, Natsui-ne-san? Rosehip works on headaches.
So it seems. I can only hope it has some effect.
Ha! Goda-san, I love ya. Hey, later, whisper me how much compensation you're getting for this, won't ya? If you're sworn to silence, you can stick up some fingers instead. Let me know your price. Having your talent monopolized by the small island is sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. Wouldn't you be willing to display your talent to all the customers at my company?
Hideyoshi-san, are you trying to recruit our Goda? How troubling. We had better make some improvements to his salary or he'll get snatched away.
Yes, you really should. If you don't, he'll be lured away and you'll be stuck with 3 meals a day at Kumasawa-style mackerel cooking, won't you?
Oh, that is indeed harsh. It seems someone's holding a grudge. Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's mackerel jokes were a type of running gag, and our parents had long since gotten used to it. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerel contained precious nutrients that could do things such as prevent aging and make people smarter. It seemed that while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped preventing the aging on the inside. Since she was still healthy enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, that benefit must be a real thing. Oh, well then, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you to eat, so look forward to it.
We sure will. I want to treat myself to some vinegared mackerel tonight.
That sounds wonderful. I wonder if any delicious Japanese sake will be included. Oh, it certainly will. How about some of our famous Rockinjima mackerel liquor? Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. Amusingly, Goda-san, who looked just as though his stock had been stolen from him, explained very seriously that tonight's dinner would actually be calf steak.
Well, like veal? I guess.
Yeah.
Kumasawa-san, thank you for doing that back there.
As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply. Oh, I haven't done anything that requires thanks. Kumasawa played dumb, but it was no accident that she had thrown Shannon a lifeline. Back when Battler had asked for the details of the dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them should have been delivered deftly. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Shannon, like Goda, had a little bit of craftiness needed to skillfully shake off a mistake, her days would be a little more comfortable. This weakness was especially unfortunate considering how flawlessly she could handle her work. Of course, there were those who well understood Shannon's meek nature and her inability to remember to gloss over her mistakes, which is why Kumasawa came to her aid without hesitation. I just heard from Genji-san that there's been a change to the afternoon shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. I am jealous.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't checked the list of shifts yet.
Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I'd be happy if you would help out a bit before your break.
Yes. I would be delighted to help.
To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. I think we will stop here, because we've been streaming for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you to everyone who has come out to the stream tonight and to watch us play Umineko. I think we're gonna aim for Saturday next week, right? I know we couldn't do it this week because of pre-existing things, but... We'll talk about it more later in private. For anyone who's in my Discord, you have about 2 days left to vote on what I'm gonna do on the big Halloween stream on the 26th. I think so far, as of right now, playing the Silent Hill 2 remake is winning. But that is just a reminder. Other than that, thank you everyone for coming out, and I hope to see everybody next time. Bye. Or do you guys have anything you want to chill before?
Nah, I'm good,
Kina?
unless Kina wants to.
Read Umineko, okay? Bye!
Bye.